Thank you so much for coming today. Very warm welcome from Seattle, strangely. Don't sit behind the chair, I can't see you. If you all can have your names on the, it will be better. Don't keep it there somewhere. Once in a while refer to your own name. That's called I. Alright. This is the 15th such a camp workshop which I am holding on the book. So we can have 15th anniversary. Not anniversary, 15th occasion, so to say. How many of you read the book? How many of you seen the book? Some of you might have touched the book. Okay, so you have to read the book for tomorrow at least. Today I give you some leeways there. But tomorrow when you come, you should have read certain portions which I'll tell you what. Meaning, tonight you are not sleeping. This is not a story book like a thriller or anything where you go to the last page and see what happened. The workshop is not meant for finding out what is wrong with you. It's about self-evaluation, about how much you know about yourself. All of us as human beings, the very fact that we are human beings, the very fact that we are born, according to Vedanta and the scriptures, we have done half punya and half papa. Meaning, we are balanced virtues and vices. If we have done too much of good things, we would not be here. We would be in some other world. The world of joy and bliss. If we have done a lot of wrong, we will be crawling on the corner of this road, here or outside, as any other species. But human birth is a balance of good and bad. You have to admit that. If you look at the story of Mahabharata, for example, not all of them are good, not all of them are bad. It's a balance of good and bad. And when we have this human birth, where there is a balance of virtue and vice, we can choose whichever direction we want to go. I am not able to see that. Please come here. I need to see whether your understanding of sleeping. Not sleeping, but when I see the eyes, I know. Am I boring or interesting? We have a choice. And that choice is what makes us live in this world. If we do not have choices at all, we would not look forward to tomorrow. Right? Tomorrow will be the same as today. And that's the reason why all other living beings do not have any progressive thinking. They are not somebody who's different from what they have been created as. And they live in the same condition without making any progress or change. Whereas we as human beings constantly look for something better than what we have been or what we are doing. You can see the glory of that around us, scientific, technological developments, and you are in a hub of place where they are all thinking all the time about this. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, artificial intelligence. While they are improving on artificial intelligence, we are becoming more and more artificial, superficial. So Vedanta as a scientific inquiring philosophy is constantly looking for how to change the human thinking. And it is said that they've reached a pinnacle of that. They believe that they have reached the pinnacle of human thinking. But to understand what is that summit, we need to proceed in the way that is prescribed. When we look at our life as presented to us, we find it very gloomy. Everywhere you see, if you open the TV, you will see that crime here, crime there, crime news network called CNN, constantly showing what is wrong in the world. So when they are young children, when they are looking at such things, they lose their choice or their willingness to live. If everybody is going to be bad, then what am I going to be here? That's why today when I came, her younger son, he was looking at cartoon and he was laughing. That's the only thing that can make us laugh. Everything else will make us very unhappy. At his age, he's okay. Once he grows up, it's not going to be a cartoon anymore. Anyway, so the concept of sadhana, doing something for our personal growth, is a topic which we are going to see in these 5 sessions. In the year 2009, so to be precise, the Swamis from Northern America, we all met in Piercy, including Swami Tejomayananda, that time head of Chinmaya Mission. He just wanted to have some kind of a discussion with us. So at that time he asked, what are we going to do for the 100th year of Puja Gurudev's, or 100th year of Puja Gurudev, or centenary celebration? Various thoughts came up. So then I said, is it possible for us to bring out a series of books about Gurudev's thinking on various subjects, like similar to that of the talks by Swami Vivekananda. As you all know, it came as a 12-part series, 10-part series. So then Guruji said he has already written so many books. And Vivekananda did not write any book. He only talks. Then people compiled it and then made it as books later on. But Gurudev has written a lot of books. So will it not be a repeat? Yeah, that is true. It will be a repeat if we got to produce the same thing again. Then we went on discussing on that, and then we said many activities have been created by Gurudev in his lifetime. Many different fields. For the youth, the Yukendra. For the children, it is Bal Vihar. For the elderly, it is Vanaprastha Ashram. For those who are serious, Sandipani Sadhanalaya. For the adults, it is study groups. Then for the social work, he has created COD. Then hospitals, schools, then research centers, Devi Group, so many the publications. And so many different things he created. So why not we write about why he created, what was his vision, what he has done so far, what we have done so far, what is yet to be done. So 3 parts. What he did or what was his vision, how much it is accomplished, and what is yet to be done. That will be an interesting documentation of his work. So therefore the first book that came out was known as He Did It. Some of you might have seen that book. It's a voluminous book called He Did It, what he had accomplished. Then the rest of them will be what we are going to do. So then came all the various topics like Bal Vihar, Yoga Kendra, this and that. And Swamiji went on assigning people, okay, you do the Bal Vihar part of it, and I will ask somebody to do the Yoga Kendra in India, and some other for the Vanaprastham this way. Then he looked at me and said, what are you going to do? I said, you tell me what should I do? Then you write on sadhana, spiritual practice. At that time I was not thinking very clearly. I said, yeah, I will do it. Then I came back to my center. In 2012, we started to think about it because ours was last but one, the 11th book in the series of 12. Every year there are 2 books have to come out in the next 6 years, from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These are the 6 years. Then ours was due on May 2016. So we started thinking sometime in 2012 or so, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? So the thought was that we will talk about what are the sadhanas that are prescribed to us in Hinduism and what are the things Gurudev had told us to do. But then it is, I'm sure many of you are reading or you're studying Vedanta, you know. Seriously, nothing to do. What does Vedanta ask you to do? Tell me. So if you say it is about puja, that is not Vedanta. It's a ritual. If you say japa, it's again an activity. If you say yoga, that is again another activity. So I thought it's about study. Vedanta is about study, but there is already another group which is writing on study group. So it's about Santipani Sadhana, then another group is writing on Santipani Sadhana. I am caught in the middle. Now what do I do now? I cannot write about study group. I cannot write about publication. I cannot write about Santipani. So I said, I created a group of 10 people. I said, you all go to as many books of Gurudev as possible and write down what he is suggesting as sadhana. Write down. So next 1 year we spent on compiling what Gurudev thought about what is sadhana. After a year's exercise, they came back to the table and then we all looked at it. Various things. Swadhyaya, that is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Now, if you look at Shravana, like we are all listening. Is it an activity? Is it a physical activity that you do? No. It is more of listening, understanding. How will you write about listening? How will you write about reflection? How do you write anything about Nididhyasana? Yeah, even if you write maybe 1 page, I need to file a book of 200 pages. Now what do I do? It's not an activity to be done. It can be written in 200 pages. I cannot bring out a 10-page book on sadhana. So then we all decided, why not we tell a story? Story about who? Gurudev's story is already written. He did it. So what story we have? So then we thought, a story about a person who has absolutely no idea about Vedanta, no connection with the religion, and how such an individual can be helped. So then, why should he study Vedanta? Huh? So one person said he is depressed. I said, then it will look like anybody who wants to study Vedanta, prerequisite for Are you depressed? Yes. Then Vedanta is right. Substantiated with the Gita also, that here Bhagavan taught to whom? One was depressed. So it looked like every depressed person will become pre-qualified for Vedanta. So he said, no, that's not good. Why not? We show, any story is where an exaggerated situation is what brought in, and then the solution is given, right? Even in Gita it's like that only. Okay, depressed why? Depressed why? Why he is depressed? Let us not tell about that at all. You will see in the book, not many places we talk about the depression part of it. He is depressed. So how will you start a story? Suicide. Let us start with suicide. So we decided that we will proceed in this direction. And as the thought started coming into us, we started to slowly build the storyline. So Nimmi Raghunathan is one of the editors in a local magazine, Indian magazine. She decided to join in the team and to start working with me on this subject. So we decided that first and last statement we will decide. What is that? I am lost. First statement in the book is I am lost. If you open the book, you will find it. The last statement that same character would make is I is lost. So I am lost to I is lost. This is the journey of the person. And anybody who is very depressed in life, who doesn't want to have and doesn't want to live, is no more having any enthusiasm or any vision about life, typically you would say, I am lost. Gone forever. I have no interest. So we'll begin with that. And finally, what is considered by Vedanta as the state of complete freedom is where the I is lost. So when he came up with this idea, I immediately called Guruji and said, we have come up with some theme like this. He was very happy. Story, very good. What is it about? I said, life of I. This I heard somewhere. Some of you heard life of I. So yes, I heard about that. Is it not people get confused about it? No, it's totally different. The spy has got nothing to do with the I. Anyway, he approved the title. So we decided to continue with our creativity. Now, Guruji, what he did was, in the 2010 itself, in Siddhabari, he gave a series of lectures on the topics which would come up as books. Meaning, he gave 1 hour lecture on Balviha, 1 hour lecture on Yoga Kendra, and 1 hour on Vanaprasana. This way, he gave lectures on every topic. And so we recorded that, and then we picked up the ideas from there as the pointers to elaborate in our book. So he gave these 2 important pointers to us. He said sadhana, which is what is the topic of this book, topic in the sense what we are going to speak about, is of 2 kinds in Vedanta. One is called Kriya Pradhan, another is called Bhavana Pradhan. Kriya means any action that you do And that's what we all do all the time. Morning till evening, Monday through Saturday, even including Sunday, some people. Huh? What are you doing? Mothers are always questioning the same thing to the teenagers. What are you doing? What are you doing? And even if a husband doing nothing, sitting there relaxedly on a Sunday afternoon, wife cannot tolerate that. What are you doing? Or if a wife is busy inside in the kitchen, the husband will, what are you doing? Isn't it? So we are all human doings, not human beings. Constantly into action. And that is not now, every time, all the time, from the time we were created onwards. Bhagavan Krishna also says very clearly in Bhagavad Gita that Kshipram hi manushe loge siddhir bhavati karmaja. In this human world, the result coming out of action is quicker, faster, visible, tangible. When you do something, the result is evidently seen. So therefore people are interested in engaging in action. Nahi kaschid kshanamapi jadu tishtati akarmakrit karyadehi avashak karma sarva pradati jai gunai. Not even a single moment a man, a person, will ever remain without action. Because Prakriti, the nature of all of us, are constantly triggering, impelling, pushing us to do action. If it is not physical action, it will be mental action will be going on. Mind will be constantly in some activity or the other. Therefore, Kriya Pradhan. There is sadhana involved in action. But there are also sadhanas or spiritual practices involving bhavana, attitude. Action and attitude. These two. These two are also given in the Vedanta, So what is Kriya Pradhan? Where japa you take or any ritual you take, that is also meant for you to improve your mind. But that alone is not sufficient. How are you thinking? That bhavana, that attitude. Both are important. What you are doing and why you are doing. That's why in Gita also, karma is spoken, but keeping dharma in mind. Bhagavan also said you fight. The very purpose of coming to the battlefield is to fight. But what was the question of Arjuna? Why should I fight? Not that I do not know how to fight. Why should I fight? Give me the reason. What is he asking? Purpose. With what attitude should I fight? With what purpose should I fight? What should I keep in my mind as a goal? I am very afraid that the end result of this action will be killing, murdering people. Should I or should I not? Why should I? If I have to do it, why should I do it? This is where I am confused. Dharma sammuda chetaha aham, he says. I am confused about the dharma. So, action, kriya, then attitude, bhavana. These two are to be kept in mind in a sadhana. Now, having got that direction from him, so we proceeded on to the next one. Aspects of sadhana is two things. When it comes to action, that which you have to do, that which you have to let go. Allow it to happen. This is one thing which we will never do. We think as human beings, we decide the result of any action based upon what we have done. Right? But that is not at all true. How many of you had dinner already? Raise your hand, please. Okay, nothing wrong. You had? Anybody else? You had. So what are you doing for that to digest? What are you doing?
Sipping.
You know that? Having had your dinner, what are you going to do to digest it?
Sleep.
Sleep? No. What are you going to do?
Okay.
Nothing.
By doing nothing, how will it happen?
Allow it to happen.
No, this is not true. Every day we take food, but we are not worried about it. Many people ask me after giving Bhiksha, Swamiji, how is the food? I said, I'll tell you tomorrow. I can't tell you now. What will happen to that? I don't know. I can only tell you what happened to it. So for digesting the food, we are not doing anything. Thank God. Please understand one thing. What you don't do but happens is Bhagavan. His work it is. Do you do anything to make the sun rise? Or the wind to blow? Or to breathe? आप कुछ करते हैं? करेंगे? हमको कुछ करना है? इसमें कोई काम है हमारा? So, we always think that unless I do it, it will not happen. Please. Sadhana is do your best, Gurudev said. Then, leave the rest. Don't interfere. Especially to parents. Having brought up your children, I don't know, they say, I'm growing up my children. You don't grow up the children. They grow. You just watch. Give them directions, give them values, give them ethics, give them values, all those things. Yeah. But do you never think that because of you only they are good? In fact, in spite of you, they are good. Allow them. You cannot dictate terms what they should become. Especially the parents of the teenager. Oh, Swamiji, what will happen to him? Everything will be fine. Just don't interfere. Give them the push. As Shankaracharya would say, it's like an arrow that is shot from the bow. Once it is released from that bow, what can you do? It's not a guided missile. Once it is released from the bow, it will go in its own direction and it reach the target. And the target is not you decide. You can only aim at it. Whether it will go or not decided by you. Anyway, so action we must do, but the result of it is not at all solely decided by what you do. You let it happen. That letting it go is the sadhana. Both doing the best and after having done, chod those. If you keep anxious, if you are anxious, will I sleep or not? Will I sleep or not? Will I sleep or not? You will never sleep. You allow it to happen, right? Even in the Vedanta class. Just let it happen. So you get onto the bed and lie down and then let it happen. So the anxiety is because we think that we have to do something for it. Yes. To the extent you have to, you should. But beyond that, let it. We'll come to that a little later. So, this is the one about Kriya. Now, then other aspects of sadhana is, some of them are called preparatory, some of them are called advanced. The preparatory one are called the japa, the chanting of the name of the Lord, or doing some service to the society around you, puja, etc. These are all only preparations. But what will make you proceed on in your personal growth is what you learn from the learned, from the right source, how you reflect on that, think about it, the practicality of it, and how it will become a part of your own experience. So, Shravanam, to listen to the right, from the right source, Mananam, to think about the logic behind the whole thing, And nididhyasan is to digest that idea and make it as a part of your own life. These are direct sadhanas. Others are all preparations. Many people prepare and then don't do further, they don't go. If you have seen many who perform puja, the entire performance of the puja is meant for preparation of the mind. But what we do after doing puja? Prasad ga ke jao. That is not the purpose. The purpose of the puja is getting into a very close relationship with the Lord. You are coming closer to Him at that point. He is there in front of you, waiting to listen to you. As soon as you complete your puja, there you have to start your meditation upon that Lord. If that is not done, you prepare everything and then get up and walk away. So those who have done this Shravanam, listening to the right source, they know that that is exactly the point where the mind has become relatively quiet, having done the puja and then having come closer to the Lord. Here is the time I should start reflecting. Think about it. And allow the Lord to take over. Let Him be the guide at that point where the mind has become quiet and come contemplative. Let the Lord guide you further into His own abode. Now what we do, as soon as the puja is over, chalo jao, prasad kao and chalo go. So, if we understand the sadhana rightly, this japa or seva or any of those things, ritual, are meant for chitta shuddhyartham, for purity of mind. And beyond that, shravanam, the listening will become more and more concentrated. Immediate effect you will see of the nature of listening will give an immediate effect of knowledge. Then reflection will become very easy, and percolating those ideas into yourself will become much spontaneous experience. So these are the pointers Guruji gave us, and also he made it clear. This is because of the font being there. He says that sadhana has three guidelines. One is called oneness in vision. Ultimate result of sadhana is to see all of them as one's own self, which is referred in sarva me ekata. In all beings, seeing that oneness which is in and through. Second is dedication in action, offering all action to the Lord. Karma me asangata. And equanimity of mind, accepting result of action, is known as karma phal me samata. So, ekata, asangata and samata. Oneness in vision, then detachment in action, and being same in different conditions that life will provide to us. These sadhanas are not actions. Asangata or detaching from action is not an action. Is it? It is like, when you have come to an age, say 10 or 12, and your younger brother is 5-year-old, and he is demanding the same teddy bear you were playing with, and he wants it now. What do? Asangata. I don't need it anymore. That is not an action. It is actually a renunciation. See, why you are able to give up? Because you do not have any more fancy for that. Of course, you have fancy for something else. So that ability to let go, ability to give up for your younger brother or sister is not an action. It is in fact the opposite of it. Inaction. Letting go. Sannyas. Renunciation. Asanga. Detachment. that is born out of maturity or growth. So the Vedanta tries to tell us that where you are able to engage in action with a mind not anxious about the result, that asangata, and in the same way looking at every being in this world as none other than the one presence there as appearing as many, sarvame ekta, and at the same time, while the life will bring in many different situations in life, maintaining that samatha, equanimity. This is to say, not to run away from life, but to meet it with the right attitude. So that is the sadhana. What should we do for that? Think. Think rightly. So, therefore, that is the reason why I said this character which we are going to bring in has so much of confusion in his mind, and how that confusion is slowly he has overcome that by right thinking with the right guidance. So that journey is what we are trying to portray here. So we called it as the sadhana trail, the journey of a sadhana. So walk with Gurudev. What we did was that we pretty much picked up the ideas presented by Gurudev, either it's in a video, audio or book, brought it in as in the part of a conversation between the characters. Also, almost every other page you'll find some small write-up about Gurudev's names, 108 names. Those 108 names, it took quite some time for me because I wanted to write the description of each of the name, 108 names, in Gurudev's own words. He might have said in some place, so I was looking, that took almost a year because we should not interpret that name. We should talk about how he understood, how he spoke about it. Then on the last line which I wrote was on meditation. In each of them, you will see 2-3 parts, the name, then the explanation, and then the meditation part. So you will see that in that. So that is to walk with Gurudev there. Okay, continuing here. Okay, we'll introduce the character, the main character here. A skeptic in his late 20s, Anveshak likes nothing more than asking questions. He is uninformed about spirituality but a good listener. Anveshak was experiencing a strange restlessness in the intellect, had started questioning his feelings. Was he just bobbing along on a boat of emotions? Shouldn't he be rowing toward a more satisfying destination? Something in his life did not fit. He needed pointers to think. The name Anveshak is a very interesting word because Anveshanam means to search, to seek, to constantly look for things. The word comes from Sanskrit word Ishanam. Anu plus Ishanam. Anveshanam. To look for things, inquiry, inquisitiveness. So therefore the name we gave him was Anveshak, the inquirer. If you have seen the movie On a Quest, Gurudev was constantly on a question. Where is God? Who knows about it? What is the nature? Why should there be death? Why should there be life? What is the nature of life? So he was constantly on a quest. Similarly, this Anveshak is a person who is ever enthusiastic to find answers and his own creative questions. It's not repetition from somewhere else. In fact, all our scriptures, if you look at the Puranas or Bhagavad Gita, in all of them, even Ramayana for that matter, it's a conversation. It's not instructions. It is a question and answer kind of a scripture. It is between Parameshwara and Parvati. In Tulsi Ramayana you will find that. Between Arjuna and Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam, if you take, it is Shuka and who? Parikshit Maharaj. And all the Puranas, if you see, it's all in the form of a conversation. It's called Samvada. Samvada means samyak vadati, speaking well to make the other person understand that. The vada word is usually used as argument, but actually vada is not argument, it's a conversation. When it is to achieve at a common understanding, it becomes samvad. When you are not interested in the result but you want to just prove your point, it's called vitandavad. When you are talking with no reason, it's called jalpa. Some people keep the name jalpa also. Name was blabbering. Jalpavad. Anyway, so here it is a samvad. So Anveshak was constantly in conversation with different kinds of people, asking them about various aspects of sadhana. Now, this Anveshak, how do you go behind it back? Okay. So the Anveshak, we made him the main character who had lost interest in life, and he was about to jump from Golden Gate, because we want to keep him here only in California. So he decided to jump out of the Golden Gate Bridge. And as he was ready to jump, suddenly he saw a figure on the sky, a hazy figure, and he couldn't recognize who it could be. And that figure, the form, had told him or instructed him one thing. What is that? What you have is His gift to you. What you do with what you have is your gift to Him. Tell me. Repeat.
What you have is gift to you, and what you do with it is
What you do with what you have is gift to you. So one of the very important statement of Gurudev. Recently I wrote some 10 verses on Gurudev's teachings, in Sanskrit. Astiyattava Prabhu Upayanam. Astiyattava. Whatever you have is Prabhu Upayanam, gift of God. Tena yat kritam tvaya nivedanam. What you do with that is your offering. It's put in Sanskrit form. Asti yattava prabhurupayanam yattvaya kritam tava nivedanam. What you do with what you have is your gift. So when he heard this, he was shocked. He couldn't recognize what it could mean to him, but his intention to jump was stalled. He was, at that moment, he was about to jump, but he could not do that action of committing suicide because he somehow realized this is making sense. By the time he became unconscious, because he was those who have gone to, anybody tried there? I did. But recently when I went there, I looked at which place which I am referring to. So, at that point, he was saved and he was taken to the nearest. We wanted a little elaborated, but we didn't want to because then story becomes too long. When we make a movie, we'll do it. There has to be a police officer coming there, picking up, and all those things. We didn't want to do that. So, but he wakes up next moment. After some time, he wakes up in a clinic. In a clinic where there is a Dr. Sevadas. Time to click? Okay. So Dr. Sevadas is a karma yogi, so to say. His nature is work, 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 work. These three words define him. He's praised by all for his tireless spirit and selflessness. So Anvesh, like this is a part of a conversation. So basically you're saying I should not want. Dr. Sevadas, it's not about changing what you want. You want me to become Gandhi? So he says, what's wrong with that? It is important to train yourself, your thoughts, to have the right kind of desires. and the right kind of desires are. This is a part of a conversation. But to introduce Dr. Sevadas to you, he's a person who loved helping people. Being a doctor, he was able to do his best in his seva. And that impressed Anveshak as he was losing his interest in life. When he came to slowly observe Dr. Sevadas, how, without looking for personal profit or looking for any name or fame or recognition or any kind of pat on his back, he's constantly doing his work. He said, where did I fail in this? Why I always looked for something to happen to me positively or to make come as a profit or something which I can claim myself as success. Why am I looking for it? Whereas he, day in and day out, is constantly serving people. So he was very impressed by that seva of Dr. Sevadas. The name itself says that. And therefore he started to converse with him. And Dr. Sevadas also intending to help this young man to come out of his depressed mood. He says, see, in your life you should have right kind of desires. Without desires, nobody can work in this world. Desire is the pushing, the driving force for all of us. And when you are thus interested to achieve something, make sure that the desire that you have becoming less and less selfish and more selfless. For example, as a householder, if you would like to do for your family, there is nothing wrong. Because you are basically helping out more living beings, more beings, maybe related to you. But let us not confine that to that itself, let us keep on expanding that. Now I am only interested in my children, my husband, my wife, my parents or my sisters and my brothers. Keep expanding it to a larger section of the community, my nation, my world, my living beings. When you come to that point, you will realize that you have reached the Bhagavan's state of Bhagavan itself. My own creation, I am interested. But we confine ourselves to a very small group. Worst is me. Whatever will happen, should happen is me. From there you proceed. So he saw him doing that. And of course he had his own setbacks as well. It's not that all that he was perfect. Dr. Sevadas had also some amount of imperfections. And that he noticed once. Once it so happened, as you probably will read the book, you will know one young girl who was very seriously ill. And Anveshak became very friendly. He started to work with him. That's another point. So he started to work in the same clinic to help him out, not going back to his original profession of being a stockbroker or share agent. He started to work with him to observe him. And then once it so happened, young girl, she was seriously ill, and then Dr. Sevadas was trying to help her out by giving the right treatment. But in spite of all the efforts, she dies. This shook Anveshak very badly. And he started to blame Sevadas, saying that you didn't do the right thing. You didn't give the correct medicine. This is not right. And Sevadas said, see, I can only give medicine. What it will do and how it will help and whether he will cure or not, it's not decided by me. I cannot decide that. Whatever amount of work or service and knowledge that I have extended to. But I am also definitely, I am affected by the result. In spite of my effort, she did not recover. So at this point, he also got a little disturbed, but not angry. He was a little upset. So when Anveshak looks at him, you are upset. Why are you upset? Because he said, I have done my best, yet, I never expected this to happen. So then Anveshak says that, so how will you come out of this kind of a situation also? Where you have put all your efforts, yet, the result is not yours, even though you are selflessly doing it. I can understand if a selfish person getting depressed out of his result is understandable. But a selfless person also getting affected by the result is something which is very annoying and unexpected. Then Sevadas says, the answer to this lies with my wife. She alone can tell you how to come out of the unhappiness even in the field of selfless work. That she alone can tell you. So therefore, he takes him to his wife. Her name is Shanti. Shanti Sevadas, the devotee. The doctor's wife is a picture of serenity. She engages body and mind in the worship of the Lord. For her, religion means love. Anveshak asks, you have an ongoing relationship with God? I don't. Are you sure He is going to listen to me? Did you get your college degree by doing nothing and staying at home, or did you have to work to get it? Anveshak nodded in understanding. How and when do I begin my dialogue with God? Now it's interesting that Anveshak goes to meet Shanti Sevadas. It's a totally different experience for him because he never had been to a bhajan or a place where the intense devotional activity takes place. Yet he had gone with his mother sometime when he was very young to temple, but he did not understand why that place is very important to him in his life. When he saw Shanti, she was sitting in the puja room, singing bhajans, offering flowers and fruits, and even tears in her eyes while looking at the Bhagavan Krishna there. So here Anveshak did not understand the various forms of God also. So then he asks her quietly, who are these people? We are looking and crying. Now whose picture is this? This is Krishna. By the way, who is he? Because he has no idea, because that's what I wanted that Anveshak to have, that totally know is as a Hinduism or any philosophy. Then she talks about the Krishna as a deity or a god whom she loves intensely. Anveshak was quite surprised. So, you love Krishna? Yes. You don't love your husband then? She said, there is a big difference between loving a person and loving God. And so the conversation begins. What do you mean by loving God? And how is it different from loving anybody else? Maybe husband, wife, children, many other things. But how loving God is distinct, different. She explains what is devotion versus what is human attachment, human love, affection. There is a difference between these two, and what will take you to the higher level is not the attachment and the love and identification with the people around you, but true love for God. She starts to explain what it means to develop the love, how to develop a relationship with God, how to converse with Him, how to interact with Him, how to see Him in action. So there Anveshak started to go with her to the temple and to look at the worship as well as bhajans and all other such activities that are going on there, and he becomes so fascinated by that. He started to sing, started to do bhajans and listen to the satsang there. But even then, as an inquirer, even that did not satisfy him. He says that my mind, even though I am interested to be in the temple, my mind is wandering all around the place. You will also find, when you start to do japa only, you will realize how monkey is this mind. Man ki baat hai. Man ki baat hai. Monkey only it is. It's jumping from one to another constantly. It never stays in one place. You go to any party for that matter, when somebody starts a conversation, you see how it goes from one to another. Nowadays the weather is so bad. Unpredictable is the weather. Yeah, everywhere. Not only Seattle. Seattle, of course, is worse. But other places also. Everything is. It's all because of pollution, I think. Yeah, too many cars. Oh, by the way, what car you have? I have Tesla. Oh, that's a nice car. It's all battery. But that's also dangerous. You're sitting on a battery all the time. It's like sitting on a cell phone all the time. So there will be psychological issues with it. People say that there is danger of being affected by the signals also. Yes, it's constantly there. sending signals, and then you're sitting on that, it will be dangerous. But nowadays they have that, driverless car. You don't need to sit there. What is a driverless car? You will go, finally you will end in Russia. Where did it start? How is the weather today? This is called monkey mind. If it happens in a gathering of people, it's okay. If it happens in your own mind, by yourself, that's what many people see. Swamiji, I can't meditate. I'm telling you why. Mind is going in every place where I do not want it to go. So the same thing happened to Anveshak. Even though you were sitting in the temple trying to sing bhajans, to look at the Lord, for a short time, yes. And then after that it started to run. So once it so happened, Shanti was not with him, but he was sitting in a temple, his mind was running wild. He got up and came out of the temple. I will be insulting God if I am sitting there and not thinking about it. Is it not true? In some time when you are sitting for dinner and as you are all sitting and eating, somebody gets a call. Hello, how are you? Everybody is around you. You have nothing to do with that. So they wonder, why are you shouting? Why don't you go to the other room and talk? Is it not true? Why do we need to listen to your conversation? In the same way, Anveshak felt that it is not right for me to sit there when the mind is not with God. So he comes out to the garden of the temple, and he finds one young lady there, sitting there motionless as though dead. Like a statue she was sitting. And very intensely. He was even wondering whether she's really alive or not. So he takes his finger, goes near her, to her nose, to see whether she's breathing. She wakes up. What are you doing? I'm just checking whether you are alive or not. You look like a statue there. No, I am alive, but I'm meditating. Meditating. What does it mean? That's when he meets the next next character here, Yogini, Damayanti. The word Dama means to control. Damayanti. Every day she seeks to push her physical body. Being the best yoga practitioner in town, she could modulate the mind to greater quietude during meditation. Anveshak had observed her in meditation. How can you sit still for so long? By controlling the body. How do you do that? By controlling the mind. How do you control the mind? By overcoming the thought about the body. How do you overcome the thoughts? By disciplining the mind. It goes round. Only to make him realize that body and mind are not two different things. Internally, what you call it as a mind is externally functioning as the body. So they have a parallel presence. If you are able to control the physical body, to a larger extent you can control the mind as well. If you are able to control the mind very well, the body will get disciplined by itself. So this he came to understand. Like for example, if you are seeing a person who is in the army or any of those, where they have a lot of discipline of doing things, their physical discipline brings a mental discipline. At the same time, a yogi who has a mental discipline, you will see his physical body is disciplined. They react to each other. So also, if your mind is disturbed, physical symptoms will be there. They are called psychosomatic diseases. Those who have studied that branch of science will understand. If your mind is disturbed, the body will react to it. Let me put it as an example to you. When you had a very bad dream, let us say some tiger is chasing you in the dream, you will find your body sweating. Actually, there is no tiger at all outside. You are just thinking. By mere thought of a tiger or any such dreadable thing, your physical body will react and sweat. How is that? Is it the body or the mind there? Which is working now. Similarly, if you have a very pleasant experience in your mind, the physical body will also experience lightness, the joy. How many of you know what is gongura chutney? Telugu people should know it. Think about it intensely. You will find your tongue will have some amount of watering. Isn't that true? Because it's not there in front of you. But very thought of it, how is that body is reacting to it? What for what? A thought. Isn't that true? So there is a very intimate connection between mind and the body. So if you, the meditation, practice of meditation includes the control of both and each one of them complementing each other. So she started to speak to him about how to control the mind with the discipline of the body. The yoga, practice of yoga. So that's why she goes back and forth on that. So Anveshak started to learn from her how to quieten the body by quietening, or quieten the mind through quietening the body. Learns some asanas, certain pranayama, etc. from her, and how to maintain a quiet mind in the meditation. But as even he practiced that, now he had three things to do. He was still working in the clinic of Sevadas, doing the seva. Going to the temple, listening to the bhajans, much better than before. Now the mind is relatively quiet. At the same time, independently he was practicing pranayama and all the other asanas for disciplining the body as well as the mind. But then he said, still I did not find an answer to the problem of why I am incomplete. Is just quietly sitting in in meditation, will it solve my problems of life? Anger, lust, passion, greed, jealousy, intolerance. All those things are still there. When I come to start behaving with people or interacting with people, it's all going to come back again. A quiet hour in the morning meditation or in the evening meditation is good, but that has not changed my way of looking at things. Even if I am busy with doing the seva to the people around through in the clinic, or sitting and singing bhajans in a temple, or quietly sitting in meditation, or independent activities, but my way I look at the world has not changed. So I have to forcefully make my mind quiet. But can it not by itself be quiet whenever I want? Do I have to do something for it? And what is mind? Is it something that is decided by something happening to me outside, or something which I create? Thoughts are from within or without? Who creates thoughts? Why do I have a thought? Why am I thinking things that are unpleasant? Who prompts it? These questions started to rise in his mind, and he asked Damayanti about it. She said, I can answer you in terms of the practice of yoga, etc. But change of attitude cannot come by any physical activity. But for that you need to go to a person who can tell you how to start thinking right. Therefore, she takes him to Vidyadhar, a professor of in philosophy, widely read and very articulate. He asks answers for Anveshak's never-ending questions. And with his own questions, he makes Anveshak think. What is the thing that you call as the mind? Where my thoughts are? Then you must have many different minds, as many as your thoughts. If the mind is not a thought or thoughts, what is it then? So he had pushed him to start thinking. And he gave him all the books, Upanishads and Gita. Now you start reading and find the correct answer. I can give you the answer, but that is not yours. You have to find the answer. Think about it. I will give you directions. So what to study, where to look for things. So he helps him to learn the nature of mind, the nature of intellect, what is ego, what is Maya, what is creation, and what is the nature of God, what is moksha, what is liberation, what is cycle of birth and death, what is rebirth, what are vasanas, what is karma. All those details of what we study as Vedanta was introduced to him by this professor, Vidyadhar. The very word Vidyadhar means one who holds knowledge. So thus he gains a lot of insight into understanding, and he learned all these meanings and definitions and terminologies. So as he proceeded further, one question remained in his mind all the time while studying is there anyone who really has reached the pinnacle of understanding? Or it is only academic? It's only a learning at the intellectual level. Is intellectual satisfaction is sufficient? And even if I have an intellectual satisfaction in this life, will I continue to have that in the next one? Because what I learned in this life, many of the things are not available later on. Because as you see, every one of us, even if you are an English professor in this life, next month you will have to start for A for apple, B for box. Isn't that? So, will whatever I understood in this life, will it ever be available to me later on? And is this life itself is sufficient for me to overcome all my sorrows? Or it's a long journey? How long? Who will answer that? He goes back to Vidyadhar and says, how long you have been studying? I have studied for 30, 40 years. But is therefore you become happy forever, you can never get upset? He said, no. Even though I know that anger and other things are not supposed to be, but my nature called vasanas are so strong, they are pushing me in such reactive situations. I find it difficult to overcome that. When he asks, is there anybody who has overcome this? Then he points out to a Swami in Chinmaya Mission. Not me, huh? Okay, so this character is created. A monk in Chinmaya Mission delights in conversation with every true seeker and carefully guides in the understanding of philosophy of Vedanta. Anveshak. As we get older, we are physically not capable of doing everything that we were capable before. As long as there is air in this body, all activities will go on. When it leaves the body, everything harms. We die. Do we? So is death the end? Is death the termination of existence? Or it is only a small pass in the long journey of what you call it as life? So then he started to ask questions about what is life, what is death, what is soul, what is moksha, who gains moksha, what are the qualities of a person who is ready for it, how do I prepare myself to it, what do I do to gain that momentum, what is inspiration, who inspires us, how do we know we are in the right direction? So these intricate questions which Vidyadhar could not answer could be got only from a person who is walking the path, one who is already on the journey, one who has gone to a little more advanced than oneself. Thus he is helped out by this Swamiji there, who could give him the right direction, not by just giving him books, but giving direct answers to his questions out of his own experience. Thus he proceeds further. Finally, he gains such a clarity in thinking. He goes to a camp in PRC where he meets with Swami Tejomayananda there, gets further guidance, and he sits in the kutir of Gurudev. Those who have gone to PRC, our center, anybody who has gone to PRC center, you would know that. So there is a place where Gurudev used to stay. So he goes there into that room, meditating upon Gurudev, and then something happens. So don't go to the last page of the book to find out what happened there. So then he comes to understand what it is. So that is how the story ends. And then he comes back to the same place where he wanted to jump. And he stands there and says, I is lost. So there's a big difference between what he began with and what he ended in. That's how the story ends there. So, now I told the story, then why should I come tomorrow? Why should I read the book? So it is just it is like I explained to you how tasty is Rasagulla. But unless you eat it, only you will know. Unless you eat, you will not know what it is. Right? So what I would like you to do is to read through the book. That's important. Every conversation gives certain amount of clarity. Because many books are there, many chapters of Gita, Upanishads, everything is there. But for a common man, these sometimes they very intimidate. Oh, I don't know this, I don't know that. Sometimes they put very technical language there also. It's very difficult for us to comprehend unless you have gone through the systematic study. So our intention in this book is to make the concept a little more easy. We used very minimum Sanskrit words so that any common man, any person who does not have any introduction to Vedanta and terminology is used to understand easily. So that's the reason why this conversation is elaborate, asking every question possible. Though if you have studied Upanishad and Gita for a long time, you'll find, oh, this is very simple. What looks very simple is the most difficult thing to do. So when we read through that, you will realize that it is a journey. It's a constant progress. That is what is intended here. So the workshop basically is to make ourselves go through the journey. How are we going to do that? So tomorrow when we meet, now I'm going to divide you people into groups. And then when we meet tomorrow, each group will be given a particular set of questions. To start with, when we meet tomorrow morning, it will be on the path of karma. And those questions will trigger your thinking. And most of them you will not find the answers in the book. But if you read the book, you will know how to answer. You see that? So many times when my students, I'm teaching this foundation or advanced school, Swamiji will test you, it's very stressful. Open the book. And then I'll give you questions. And then you will not find answers. So they will open the book and look for answers, you will not find it. It will be there, but you have to look for it. It's not that directly, okay, page number 23 is there. So these questions are designed in such a way that if you have read the book, you will be able to answer, not pointedly from a particular place. So that is how we have designed it. So the first half an hour will be given to you. Let us say, what time will be? 10? 9?
2.
Oh, okay, 2 o'clock. So 2 to 2:30 will be, please come in time so that we will do the right thing or correct time. 2 to 2:30 will be your discussion with your own group members, and then I'll give you each group 2 minutes to talk about what they have understood as a book group. Last month I had it in DC, Chinmaya Mission DC. They had a clock, huge clock projected. 1:59, 8:57. Everybody is looking at the clock and we're not listening to them. Anyway, so then when it came to 10, 11, 12, 9, 8, everybody just started to look at him very intensely. Then he knew that I have to stop now. Anyway, so 2 minutes. So we would like the groups to speak about one representative from each group speak. Then I will connect the loose ends, not answer the questions directly, but my next presentation will answer most of them. That's the idea. Then we'll have a small break. Then the next set of questions will be given to the groups. Again, conversation with your group. Then another representative, not the same, will come and speak about what they have understood. Then I will connect the links, clarify the points. Then the third one. So I think tomorrow we have 3 sessions and Sunday we have 1 session. So tomorrow would be the topics that we'll cover is karma, bhakti and yoga. Right? So in the book that you have, complete up to the dhyana yoga portion, which means tonight don't sleep. Finish it and then sleep. Don't put it on tomorrow morning. No, tomorrow morning, sorry, I will get up very early. Oh yeah, tomorrow you have almost...
At 6 o'clock we have our meditation.
That is true, but you have up to 2 o'clock, but preferably you finish it tonight so that you have time to think about it. Otherwise you just read it and then come at 1 o'clock you start reading and then come at 2 o'clock. Then you will would not have digested it. So it's better to read early and then think. Okay, so far what we have discussed, any questions, anybody?
Swamiji,
Yeah.
so Professor Vidyadhar, he's what would we consider him in the Jnana Yogi path?
Yes. So Jnana Yoga part we divided into 2 parts basically in the book. In the book we didn't distinguish, but Jnanam portion is, yes, Vidyadhar's portion as well as the Swami's discussion. Yeah.
Swamiji, what is the difference between Purusharth and Sadhana?
We'll come to that. Those questions will be answered. First you will think and then we'll answer it. Any other? Because if I don't give the answer, then you will not discuss that, right? Alright, so in that case we will now divide the people. All of you are going to be there tomorrow, I presume. Alright. Now we'll start with him. Yes. Say 1.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5. 1.
1, 3,
5.
1,
2, 3,
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,
2.
3,
Sorry.
3. So you are
3, 4,
5,
3,
1, 1,
2.
3. Okay, so how many groups we have now? 5. So I will give the questions tomorrow only. Otherwise you start thinking right now. It's not allowed. Tomorrow we'll do the questions. So the 2 o'clock to 2:30 is the discussion. 2:30 to 2:40 I would say. Plus 5 into 2, so 10 minutes. So 2:40. Then 2:40 to 3:30. So we grab the loose ends and then 3:30 to 4 is the break. And 4 to 4:30 is the second set of group discussion. 4:30 to 4:40 is the presentation. 4:40 to 5:30 is my PowerPoint. 5:30 to 6 is a break. Is it dinner break or what?
No, we have another break.
2 breaks. So 6, then 6 to 7:30, the same format, and then dinner.
And then
Okay, so for dinner, you should be there. So at least till 7:30, you should all be there. So that is the program, 2 to 7:30 tomorrow. Right? Then comes the Sunday. What time is the program?
3 o'clock, Swamiji will assemble at the
Okay. So 3 o'clock when we meet. No, there for the assembly. Then after that.
After that, 3:30 we will have start our
Okay.
program.
So there on Sunday, 3:30 to 4, you all will have the session of discussion, while I'll be addressing those who are not part of the camp with them separately, because I have to bring them to speed up to this point. I'll give them a short, brief idea about what's coming, so that when you come to present, they will have some idea what they are talking about, what you people are talking about. So when 3:30 to 4, you will have discussion among yourself. 4 to 4:10 or so, you present to everybody who are there. Then I will do the final presentation up to 5:15 or 5:30 or so. And then we'll conclude. That's the plan. So I'm sure it will be interesting because 14 times I've done so far. I know that what works and what doesn't work. So we have one more coming up in June in LA itself. And recently, just today, we finalized one in Wisconsin. That is in July, August. So, I hope you would find the reading itself interesting, and do not go to the last page as I told you. And I have given the introduction to the characters, so you'll find the flow a little better. You don't need to go through the character introduction there. All right, so we will meet tomorrow, right? Morning, what are we doing?
Morning, we don't have a program schedule, but
Oh,
we have
tomorrow's venue is
meditation.
different, right? Or here?
Venue is the same.
Oh, tomorrow's
Only
venue.
Sunday
Sunday.
venue is different.
So, will we finish with the prayer?
Yes.